How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a brand new video. Today we are going to be talking about TRON TRX. It seems like there's always something new with Tron, these new exchange listings and a lot of these new applications involving Tron, really pushing forward into the new era. Tron is definitely a crypto that I'm paying attention to in the light of the decline of different social media platforms like Facebook in terms of usage. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that people aren't going to still be using a household name like Facebook, but gradually people's attention is sort of drifting off to these more advanced, just naturally the fact that Tron is leveraging the decentralized, basically all these different leverages that cryptocurrency makes available. It's definitely interesting to see where Justin Sun is taking this project, and certainly the news is reflecting a lot of these different things as well. Ethereum world news, Tron gets double deal as it enters the DAPP era. Really some exciting stuff happening across the board. In particular, when you look at the overall performance, cryptocurrency sort of making a turn for the better. I mean, as far as seeing the market cap where it is at 236 billion. Some very exciting things happening. Certainly, it must have something to do with the stock market doing well. Overall, it seems as if the markets are acting pretty pleasantly for anybody who's positioned themselves in an educated way. But of course, we're going to be seeing what goes up must come down, and of course they're going to need to have some other new place to go. And I think that cryptocurrency right now has been ignored to a large extent by the whales, who've been in a large way distracted by all the money they've probably been making in the stock market, let's be honest. But all good things must come to an end. Speed bumps in the road, and of course things that are at their all-time highs have a tendency of soon reaching, people are going to want to cash out, buy those yachts, and Chinese New Year's coming, and all those different things. So we're also going to be seeing some interesting things happening with cryptocurrency. I would definitely put some definitely I'm paying attention to a lot of those interesting predictions that people have been talking about that involve that sort of ecosystem. Something that the grandpas don't really realize when it comes to cryptos is that memes are really important. It is very important for the community on these different social media platforms to get the youth audiences aware of these things. And I mean, I love this tweet right here. We should send Shia LaBeouf some Tron for that great quote. And that's also something interesting. Is always it's good to get celebrities' attentions when when it comes to these cryptos. That could honestly go a long way, and strategically this sort of creative thing does really interesting things as far as getting the public consciousness aware of these things, especially in particular Tron, which aims to be one of those technologies that really moves forward and takes a piece of the pie as far as the social media is concerned. And with these new Instagram and sort of similar applications, that Tron has the potential to really go forward. I believe out of all the altcoins, Tron's certainly one of the most forward thinking as far as when you look at the roadmap, you look at the team, you look at excellent people on board like Justin Sun, who are celebrities in the crypto world. Tron debuts virtual machine for DAPP develop. I mean, these are very, very big things. Virtual machines are going to be very big game changer as far as Tron's concerned. In my opinion, looking forward, we're definitely going to be seeing some very interesting things happening with Tron. I mean, if Dogecoin could be up 60% and winning the day, then I think that certainly there's something available for technologies like Tron that actually have something to value of offer, and as far as really having a way to interact with the real world. Now, I'm not going to shit on Dogecoin. A lot of people wanted me to talk about it, but I'm not going to dedicate an entire video to it. I'd rather dedicate most of this video to Tron. So I hope everybody's feeling good seeing all this green across the board. Obviously, it's not too impressive, but one thing that was extremely impressive was Dogecoin. So I mean, those of you out there who've been believers in Doge, I mean, that recent Ethereum thing, I mean, we're not going to talk too much about Doge on here because I mean, it's kind of a joke crypto up until this point, sort of, some people like to keep Doge in the back of their pocket, and but then again, I mean, like I said, I mean, most people kind of still regard it in that same way, and I think once Doge reaches 1 cent, though, I think that that's really going to be kind of interesting. Because I did have some people who were talking about Doge, wanted me to make a video about it, and hey, I mean, you could pretty much profit from any cryptocurrency, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to necessarily, I mean, and up until this point, though, Doge sort of did have that reputation going, and honestly, like, I really wouldn't put too much hope into, you know, what's going to be happening. I mean, it is sort of a pump and dump situation. I mean, the thing that happened with Ethereum isn't really that big, but then again, I might be wrong, you know what I mean? These are just my opinions, and like I said, I mean, what I personally, the approach that I have with Doge is I sort of just keep it in my back pocket. I don't really focus too heavily on Doge because the volatility really does hit it as hard as possible. And I think, me personally, I would have said that Doge might actually have been in the red today, pending if we hadn't seen such a good day performance with all these other technologies. There are obviously a lot of different circumstances to take into consideration. Of course, remember, this video is not advice by any means, but I mean, it is interesting. If you guys want to comment down below letting me know what you think about the Doge phenomenon, because it is currently blowing a lot of the other cryptos out of the water. I mean, as far as the last day is concerned, Doge, Redcoin, Verge, a lot of coins that received a lot of hate recently starting to rise up in that public consciousness, and while they still continue to manage to show up on here, that's really going to be paying paying its due, essentially, as far as the reputation of all these technologies go. Neo still dramatically low from where it was not too long ago. I remember back when Neo was hundreds of dollars, if not at some points even 200, if I remember correctly, and now still at that abysmal $22. But then again, everything has sort of been hit hard from that sort of cryptocurrency depression that we were going through, when we saw Bitcoin and everything going from its all-time highs, hundreds of billions of dollars taken out of the market, and it's with no surprise. I mean, currently there's a lot of money that's being pumped into the stock market by a lot of the whales, I'm sure, and I think that that's also, I mean, whether or not you want to talk about the connections, it is connected because it's what people are focusing their attention on, their time, and the fact that the stock market's doing well is certainly trickling over to crypto, and it wouldn't be much of a surprise if some huge whales just decided to pump Doge, and because then, but then again, I'm not going to entirely rule out Doge entirely. I'm not going to shit on this technology. I actually like Doge, like I said, but I mean, obviously, this video is for educational purposes, so I'm just going to tell you my opinion, and you got to do your own research. I thought this was a pretty interesting meme right here that pretty much just sums it all up. And yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, another meme that we've been showing on this channel, which I think, it's important to do service to, is, the world debt clock, because it's always ticking, it's always in the background. It's just something interesting to bring up because it sort of is, the more we see this sort of tension building up, I mean, this is energy that's building up that's eventually going to need to, get some air at some point. And the fact that cryptocurrency is where it is, I believe that I definitely do believe in the technology, and I think that if you don't believe in the technology, then you pretty much are in the wrong place, because the technology does speak for itself. I mean, obviously, we welcome all comers, but it is important to do your research when it comes to these things. Remember, like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not your dad primarily. I mean, that's another meme we have on this channel, but it's true. You have to do your own research when it comes to these things. Find out as much information as possible, because great days like these do happen, you know what I mean? And I mean, there might not be too many more of them. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, there's always opportunity out there for people who understand the way that things function and the ecosystem and so forth, and it is a very great time as far as the decentralization is concerned. And a lot of those old big powers that were at one point, I mean, Facebook, the way that they've gotten essentially too big for their britches, they're really abusing their user bases the same way like we see Twitter, committing the same sin. Really, YouTube does it to a similar extent as far as deleting accounts for no good reason. These are very interesting things, and they're good for these rising up alternative. Basically, cryptocurrency has a really big opportunity to capitalize on the mistakes that are being made by these old guard social media and media providers. Because I like Twitter, I like Facebook, I like YouTube. I'd like to see their platforms function more appropriately. But I mean, of course, we're going to have to see how Facebook has been implementing cryptocurrencies into their own business little by little, and hiring people on board who have experience with cryptocurrency just to keep up with the competition that people like Justin Sun are running, at a very fast pace. So essentially, it's also sort of that same David and Goliath scenario that we're all familiar with, where the big corporations and so forth are already so big that it's difficult for them to maneuver and change. But these little guys, these startup cryptos, there's a million different altcoin ideas that rise up every other day, and they all have much more maneuverability and flexibility, and that's really what's going to pay off. So I hope you guys have found this video educational, and I invite you guys to follow us on Twitter. You guys can connect with us on Twitter at CryptoTuber, or whatever our handle, at CryptoTuber, and we'll be including a link to that in the description. Of course, make sure that you guys connect with us on Snapchat, and all that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.